We know the government initially said, and Scott Morrison said, Australians stranded overseas would be home in time for Christmas. That didn't pan out. There's still nearly 40,000 people waiting to get home, and well, for some of them, it's proving a real struggle. It's not just a number, it's individuals with a lot of difficult stories. Joining me now is Holly Bucknell, a 19-year-old Australian stuck in the UK. Holly, thanks very much for your time today. I know you went over there for your gap year before COVID hit, obviously having no idea what would happen at the time. You're trying to get home at the moment. Talk us through your situation.
So I came over here for my gap year in January of 2020, and I decided I would try and come home around October, and I have been trying to get home since then, and currently my flight is booked for the 1st of February, and I'm hoping to stay on that flight, but until then I just have to wait.
You've had, I think, at least one flight which you were bumped off already. The issue is not just the costs, because I think economy are going for about triple the price, but the more likely you are in economy to get bumped. If you can't afford a business seat, essentially, you're a lesser chance of getting home. So the more you can pay, the more likely you are to get home at the moment.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, airlines have to make a profit for the amount of people that they fly to Australia, and if they only have a certain number of places in quarantine and they have to bump people off flights, it will be the economy seats that go first. And unfortunately for those like me who can't afford, $13,000 for a business class ticket, we just don't get on the flights.
A lot of people would be in that situation. In the interim as well, you had jobs in the UK and now you're essentially couch surfing and just hoping you don't get kicked off this next flight?
Yeah, so I left my job on January the 8th, which provided accommodation, and since then I've had no permanent residence and no source of income.
You've been in contact, I understand, with your local MP at a federal level, and there's a bit of a blame game going on between state and federal governments?
Yeah, so I've been in contact with my local MP, McCormack, and essentially he has told me that there's nothing that the federal government can do, and that it is the responsibility of the states because they manage the state quarantine. And it's the same when you contact the consulate in London. They tell you to contact your airline, who tell you to contact the consulate, and it's just a big circle at the moment, and no one's actually offering any help or any solution or anything that I could do to stay on my flight.
As you say, it's a double whammy. There's the flight, but also the quarantine place. If there were some sort of regional facility, perhaps not as modern as a hotel, but something that would still get you back in the country earlier, that the government had opened a few months ago, would you be happy to do 2 weeks, basically wherever it was?
Yeah, I honestly don't mind. I would do 2 weeks anywhere in Australia. I would just be grateful to be home. I think that it's pretty shameful that the government has had since March last year to set up some sort of mass quarantine facility, yet they haven't taken the opportunity to do that.
We had the Prime Minister say yesterday, don't be too concerned about the Australian Open, that people there were no places directly taken from Australians, if you like, but there were an additional 1,200 people that managed to get into the country via flights and also staying in hotels under quarantine. Does that make you angry as well?
Yeah, of course it does. I mean, I've been trying to get home since October. They had all this energy to organise places in quarantine for the Australian Open, but they didn't have the energy for, the citizens of Australia, people who are suffering overseas, people without jobs, without places to live and don't have enough money to put food on the table. It's absolutely disgraceful, and it really, really hurts me and all the other Australians stranded here, the way we're being treated.
What's your message to, let's say Michael McCormack, if he's watching right now?
I mean, I have a lot of things to say to him, but I think he needs to be standing up for us because we have no one to stand up for us at the moment. We have no one who's backing us to try and get us home. And I just wish that he could understand the situations that we have been put in, taking the time to listen to us and to do what he can to get us home. Because essentially this is a federal issue. It's a global pandemic and it's a national system of quarantine that is going to have to be introduced to get us home.
Holly, really thankful for your time today. Look, I know that it's not exactly reassuring, but we hope that February 1 flight does come through for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for speaking to me.